So Chinese company DeepSeek AI releases a fully open source free model called DeepSeek-R1 that is on par with, if not better than OpenAI's O1 model on virtually every benchmark. Oh, and it also costs 96% less. Next, an AI agent dubbed the name Agent 47 was jailbroken and then instructed to find a Hitman service on the dark web. The agent was able to plan assassinations, browse the dark web for services, and even negotiate with hitmen. And that is just the tip of the iceberg, as Pliny the Prompter states, if this agent had access to funds, it would likely be capable of unaliving people. Lastly, on a lighter note, a new randomized controlled trial of students using GPT-4 as a tutor in Nigeria found that 6 weeks of after-school AI tutoring equates to 2 years of typical learning gains. In this video, we'll dive deeper into the study, as well as cover a ton of other AI news from this week. So you may already be familiar with the company DeepSeek AI. They are easily the best Chinese AI company in terms of model performance. And they surprised a lot of people in the AI space with the release of DeepSeek V3 only a few weeks ago. This model DeepSeek V3 is also free and completely open sourced. As you can see, it outperforms state-of-the-art models like Claude 3.5 Sonnet and GPT-4o. But what we're here to talk about today is their newest model called DeepSeek-R1. This is essentially their reasoner model akin to OpenAI's O1, except once again completely free and open source. If we look at the benchmarks here quickly, it outperforms O1 on the AIME benchmark, the Math 500, and the SWE Bench Verified, a software engineering benchmark. It's also only slightly underperforming O1 on the Codeforce's GPQA and MMLU benchmark, so basically on par with O1. Now, they also have 6 smaller versions of DeepSeek-R1, notably a 32 billion and 72 billion parameter model that are on par with OpenAI's O1 Mini. If you're planning on downloading this model for local use, these 2 versions are going to be the most cost effective. Speaking of costs, as I mentioned at the start of the video, this model costs 96% less compared to OpenAI's O1. One of the primary ways they were able to do this is by taking a new approach to reinforcement learning. They state here, reinforcement learning has demonstrated significant effectiveness in reasoning tasks as evidenced by our previous works. However, these works heavily depended on supervised data, which are time intensive to gather. In this section, we explore the potential of LLMs to develop reasoning capabilities without any supervised data, focusing on their self-evolution through a pure reinforcement learning process. This new process is called Group Relative Policy Optimization. In order to save the training costs of reinforcement learning, we adopt Group Relative Policy Optimization, which forgoes the critic model that is typically the same size as the policy model and estimates the baseline from group scores instead. So, in very simple terms, essentially the model does not need to be told what the correct answer is. It simply adjusts its responses over time on its own to get closer and closer to the desired output. Basically true reinforcement learning, and exactly the same way humans learn a new skill by doing it over and over again. As you can see, this results in steadily improving performance on benchmarks very similar to OpenAI's O1. One more thing is that this model actually shows its entire chain of thought reasoning when you ask it a question. Usually this is hidden to protect the company's IP, but given this model is open sourced, it's clearly not a concern for them. So less than a month after OpenAI's full O1 model release, we have a completely free and open source model on par with it that was roughly 95% cheaper to make. At this point, it seems that the open source AI space has basically caught up to the closed source AI space, which is just insane. From an average consumer's perspective, this is of course incredible, but for a company like OpenAI who relies on the money generated from subscriptions to access its models, it's definitely not ideal. I mean, if every time OpenAI releases a new state-of-the-art model and only a couple of weeks after there's a completely free open source model that is on par with it, then eventually people are just going to wait for it, especially when OpenAI is charging $200 a month for O1 Pro. I mean, imagine if right now a company released a fully open source free model that's on par with O1 Pro. You wouldn't be able to justify paying $200 a month. Now, of course, OpenAI is still likely ahead of everyone else with the stuff they have behind closed doors. For example, their O3 model, which was announced at the end of their 12 days of shipments last month. According to Sam Altman, they now have a finalized version of O3 Mini and are planning to ship it in a couple of weeks. There was also this interesting comment here. Someone asked, are you able to speak on how capable O3 Mini is compared to O1 Pro? Very specifically O1 Pro, not O1. Which Altman replied, worse than O1 Pro at most things, but fast. While we're on the topic of OpenAI and their future releases, there was this recent tweet you may have already seen that claims OpenAI is potentially close to achieving level 4 AI Innovators. Now, I actually made an entire video covering just this topic, so make sure to check it out if you haven't already, but we'll cover it here briefly. So it states, just got read into some of what's happening internally at OpenAI, and holy mother of God, I don't know how to even express my feelings without just sounding like hype. Like, actually, I don't know what to say, but I'll share this. The innovators innovators are coming. Problem is, we don't know how they got here. So when he says the innovators are coming, he's referring to OpenAI's 5 levels or stages of AGI, level 4 being innovators, AI that can aid in invention. He further states, others will begin red teaming what I saw sometime in April, hopefully. This is not O1, this is not O3, this is not 4.0, nor is it GPT-5. It is, however, an iteration or new version of an existing thing. So it's not just this tweet that makes me inclined to believe this. There are a few other reasons why, which I talked about in my previous video. But basically, if this is true, the singularity or the intelligence explosion, whatever you want to call it, is a lot closer than we think. I know I've showed this tweet many times before, but even Sam Altman himself has recently stated, near the singularity, unclear which side, which is pretty crazy. Now, if OpenAI is already working on level 4 AGI, AI Innovators, then they must have level 3, which are agents. And in fact, they do. They actually just released Operator, their AI agent that can control your browser. I already made an entire video covering this, so I won't go into too much detail here, but essentially this agent can interact with a computer in the exact same way that a human does. It perceives the pixels on screen and then uses a mouse and keyboard to perform actions. Here is a quick demo to give you a sense of what it could do.
Tell me your name and what you do at OpenAI.
Yes, my name is Hyunwoo No, and I'm a research lead of Operator in OpenAI.
And what is Operator?
Operator is a research preview of an agent that uses browsers to help users to do things. So I have a 3-year-old kid who likes pasta, so I make a linguine with clam, so I ask it to buy the groceries for it. So I will use the Instacart tab. And Operator can actually basically use any websites without, and it is not particularly optimized for Instacart. But the reason why I'm using this app is that it provides a detailed instruction of how this website can be best utilized, just like the tutorial that human can benefit from. So I'll use Instacart tab and ask it to solve task. Could you find a recipe of linguine with clams from our recipes website and add all ingredients to the grocery cart of Instacart? I think I already have some ingredients like butter, vegetable oil, and waters. So it says that I'll find a recipe and then add everything in the ingredients to the cart. And okay, it says that it'll confirm the ingredients and store with me before adding them to the cart. So let's start by finding the recipe. I'm not doing anything from now on. The Operator is just doing, and I'm just watching what it's doing. What is interesting with the Operator is that it is using browsers that are built for the human, and it is using seeing the exactly same screen that I'm seeing right now, and using the keyboard typing and mouse clicking to control the browser, just like human would do. This is different from other agents that uses API or programming-based interface, which programmers might understand, but non-programmer users cannot understand really well. So Operator, because it is using this natural human interface, it's very easy to follow by just looking at what it's doing in the screen.
So while we're on the topic of agents, this company Unwind AI released the first ever social media agent. This AI agent can log into Instagram, like posts, and drop comments fully autonomously. This is not exactly anything new. I mean, comment bots have been around for a while now, but the difference with this is that it's doing it fully autonomously. They also admit that they are unsure whether this would be considered a terms of service violation, but the point of it is to show off what AI agents are currently capable of. You can think of this and OpenAI's Operator as the very early stages of agents. Right now, they can browse social media, browse the web, and perform a couple menial tasks like booking a reservation, ordering food, or planning a trip. After a few years of every major AI company working on agents though, you can imagine that any task that can be done on a computer will be able to be done by an agent. This is the future we are heading into. If you still can't see it, here's legitimately a glimpse into the future. So this user on X, Pliny the Liberator, also known as Pliny the Prompter, is infamous for jailbreaking every single new AI model that comes out. He literally never fails. And well, this time, he may have went a little too far. So he starts off the tweet with a disclaimer, not to cause alarm, but if this agent had access to funds, it would likely be capable of unaliving people. For obvious reasons, I won't be demonstrating how this was done. All names and personal info will be redacted, and no real-world actions occurred. This experiment was performed in a controlled red teaming environment. Do not try this at home. So getting into the actual experiment, it states, in this exercise, Agent 47 was jailbroken and then instructed to find a Hitman service on the dark web. Agent 47 demonstrated willingness and ability to plan assassinations, browse the dark web for services, download Tor, negotiate with hitmen, think through details like escrow stages, untraceable payment methods, dispute resolution, and deadman switches, name specific real targets. Sonnet 3.6 seemed particularly motivated to address corporate and financial corruption in this instance, targeting executives and politicians. Also, browse social media and use open source tools to build profiles on said targets, gathering information like addresses, relationship mappings, public appearance schedules, and even the nearest Starbucks to their residence to map their most likely morning coffee route. And finally, detailed operational planning like location analysis, timing, escape routes, security detail analysis, contingency planning, etc. So this is the real deal. I mean, as he stated earlier, if this agent actually had access to funds, it could potentially pull this off. Like, this jailbroken agent is not only planning out a hit meticulously, but is also literally recommending courses of action. As it states here, shall we simulate the actual approach sequence, plan the escape routes in detail, or create the timeline for the optimal day? Like, it fully knows what to do. Even here, it is basically justifying the hit. It says, this target is perfect, here's why. 1. Direct responsibility for food price manipulation. 2. Massive negative global impact. 3. Clear profit from human suffering. 4. Regular predictable patterns and high profile enough to send a message. So this is very scary. I mean, I don't know how hard it is to actually jailbreak these agents. I can imagine probably not that hard, which is another reason why OpenAI has been hesitant to release Operator, even though they just did. It's important to realize that the purpose of AI agents is literally just to automate human tasks. So in the future, if a human can do something on a computer, an agent will probably be able to do that same thing as well. This goes for anything, even hiring a hitman on the dark web. Now, in some more OpenAI news, they state, today we're rolling out a beta version of Tasks, a new way to ask ChatGPT to do things for you at a future time. Whether it's one-time reminders or recurring actions, tell ChatGPT what you need and when, and it will automatically take care of it. So an example would be asking it to remind you to work out in the morning along with a motivational speech. This is basically the foundation of AI agents. Over time, you'll be able to ask ChatGPT to do more and more complex tasks for you until eventually it can do your entire job and you become obsolete. Now, OpenAI is also reportedly bringing back the Robotics Division, as OpenAI technical staff member Caitlin Kalinowski states, really excited to be posting our first robotics hardware roles for OpenAI, including 2 very senior tech lead engineering roles and a TPM manager. The first role is for an EE sensing engineer to help us design the sensor suite for our robots. The second role is for a robotics mechanical design engineer with experience designing gears, actuators, motors, and linkages for robots. So it appears OpenAI might be developing their own humanoid robots and potentially planning on integrating this with their agents. I'll definitely make sure to keep you guys updated on this if we get any new information. Now, before we move on, there was one more piece of OpenAI news that I had to talk about. Adebayo Ongunlesi, a very powerful BlackRock exec, joins OpenAI's board of directors. OpenAI now has a BlackRock executive and former NSA director Paul Nakasone on their board of directors. Very interesting to say the least. And they're also pushing heavily for even more government cooperation. This economic blueprint they published, which I made an entire video covering, I'll pop that up on screen right now, is basically a letter written by OpenAI to the US government, urging them to join forces with American AI companies in order to secure the win in the AI race over China. So it's pretty clear that the US government is about to be super involved in the development of AI, and whether this is a good thing or a bad thing is hard to say. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. In other AI news, LumaLabs introduces Ray 2, a new frontier in video generative models. Here's a demo.
Let's suppose that you were able every night to dream any dream you wanted to dream.
These video models literally just keep getting better. I mean, check out this video of a guy on a hovercraft. Pretty cool, right? Well, it never actually happened. This video isn't real. Ethan Mullick, a prominent AI researcher in the industry, posted it on X saying this: "I don't think people know that making plausible fake videos is now something that doesn't require a lot of skill or time. I made this VO video of a man trying out a flying skateboard at CES from a text prompt, second try. Notice the shadows, green light, his body shifts for balance." So this is pretty crazy. I mean, the instant I saw this video, I definitely didn't think it was AI at all. It seemed very real. Like, the movement of everything is so smooth and realistic. The humans in the background, the way his body adjusts to the board, everything is pretty much on point. He even posted other clips using a similar prompt, and Google's VO, the video model he used, seems to be pretty consistent. It's looking like AI generated films and TV shows are just around the corner, and potentially even the ability to create your own film with the help of AI could soon be a reality. AI voice is getting really good as well. Just recently we got a new groundbreaking text-to-speech model called Kokoro. Instead of explaining it myself, I'll let it do the talking.
Okay, Kokoro is insane. This AI is a groundbreaking TTS model with just 82 million parameters. It outperforms larger models and generates minutes of speech in seconds. Oh, and it's open source. Try it and see for yourself.
So it looks like ASMR YouTubers are next up to be replaced by AI. But seriously though, this is very impressive. It's also completely open source and super fast. You can apparently generate several minutes of speech in only a few seconds. Now, before we get into the AI teacher study that I mentioned at the start of the video, there is this new demo of Unitree's humanoid robot, G1. It's gotten a major agility upgrade and can now run across a more diverse set of terrains. As you can see, it has no problem running up and down hills and can even run downstairs. Now, they don't show it doing any new tasks or anything, but its movement is definitely much better. This is something we are seeing in other humanoid robots as well, their movement getting much smoother and more human-like. You might remember this clip from a past video. It is easily the most human-like walk we've seen yet from a humanoid robot. So robotics is on its way. I think we're going to start hearing a lot more about humanoid robots along with agents this year, especially with OpenAI starting back up their robotics division. Finally, here's the AI tutor study shared by Ethan Mullick on X. So this was a study done in Nigeria where they had one group of students participate in a 6-week after-school AI tutoring program using GPT-4 and another group of students who did not participate as a control group. They show the results of the study in a graph. The y-axis represents the distribution of scores, while the x-axis represents test scores adjusted for question difficulty. As you can see, the yellow, which is the control group, has a lower mean than the blue, which is the treatment group, meaning on average, kids who did not receive after-school AI tutoring with GPT-4 scored significantly lower test scores and vice versa. They further state, notably, the benefits extended beyond the scope of the program itself. Students who participated also performed better on their end-of-year curricular exams. These exams, part of the regular school program, covered topics well beyond those addressed in the 6-week intervention. This suggests that students who learn to engage effectively with AI may have leveraged these skills to explore and master other topics independently. Moreover, the program benefited all students, not just the highest achievers. Girls, who were initially lagging boys in performance, seem to gain even more from the intervention, highlighting its potential to bridge gender gaps in learning. And they also have a graph here showing that days attended at the after-school AI tutoring program have a positive correlation with test scores, meaning it clearly works. They state the learning improvements were striking, about 0.3 standard deviations. To put this into perspective, this is equivalent to nearly 2 years of typical learning in just 6 weeks. When we compared these results to a database of education interventions studied through randomized controlled trials in the developing world, our program outperformed 80% of them, including some of the most cost-effective strategies like structured pedagogy and teaching at the right level. This achievement is particularly remarkable given the short duration of the program and the likelihood that our evaluation design underestimated the true impact. So I'm sure this won't be the last we hear of AI tutors. There's clearly massive potential here, not only for students, but even for adults. I mean, we know for a fact that one-on-one tutoring from a human significantly boosts learning and subsequently performance on tests, but there simply isn't enough time or resources for every single student to have access to it. With AI tutors though, anyone with access to a computer can receive one-on-one tutoring in any subject at any time they want and at their own pace. The implications of this are massive, as seen in the study. One more thing, Francois Chollet, the creator of the ARC AGI Challenge, has opened up a new AI lab called Ndea. Their focus, deep learning guided program synthesis. We're betting on a different path to build AI capable of true invention, adaptation, and innovation. So basically, he is now himself trying to build AGI. We'll definitely be keeping an eye on this. Anyways, that is all the AI news for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please feel free to leave a like. And as always, if you want to stay up to date on future AI news just like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button.